Hi, I'm Joe Saunders with Miniature Landscape Hobbies. In this episode, we're going to look at a quick and easy way to shade your models using enamel washes. If you would like to learn all about building a miniature, please make sure you subscribe to our channel. For enamel washes, there are a lot of options on the market, and all of them are really quite good. As long as you're willing to deal with thinners and the smell, and the little bit of fumes, enamel washes really do offer a very powerful option for you to shade your vehicles. There are two essential approaches to using enamel washes in shading models. The first method is called the pin wash technique. This is where you use a really fine brush and you go in with your enamels and run the enamels into the gaps and into the panel lines on the model using capillary action. This is a really detailed and controlled method, and it produces really great results. However, the process of pin washing takes a lot of time, and that's its main drawback. This brings us to the second type of enamel wash. That's the whole model wash, where you apply the wash across the surface of the entire model. Then, after it dries, or is partially dried, you can go back and erase any mistakes. This is one of the primary virtues of using enamels. You can always use a thinner to correct your mistakes after the fact. And applying the wash across the whole model at one time happens to be extremely fast. I can shade an entire 1/100th scale model using the model wash method in probably about 10 minutes at the most, whereas with the pin wash method, it might take me upwards of half an hour or more depending on the complexity of the model. So let's take a look at how to apply the wash across the whole model and how to control it to achieve the best results while still doing things in a fairly fast process. The first thing you're going to want to do is apply some varnish to your model. In this case, I'm going to use a satin varnish in my airbrush. The reason for this is enamels could damage the previous acrylic layers that you've already put into the model. I'm going to demonstrate here on an M1 Abrams by Battlefront Miniatures. This is for Team Yankee, but this could really be done for any sort of model. You need to spray down a couple good layers. In this case, I think I used 2 layers. And that's going to protect all of the work that's been done so far prior to shading. Following this, I take a large brush and some of my enamel thinners, and I apply a thin coat of enamel thinner to the surface of the entire vehicle. This is to help the enamels run and wash into the crevices and the areas that need to be shaded. Now you can go ahead and get out your enamel. In this case, I'm using AK Interactive's wash for NATO camouflage vehicles. Most of these enamels are similar. They're usually some sort of black or dark brown wash that you can apply straight from the bottle. You want to apply it while the thinner is still wet on the model, and you just go ahead and pat it on. You don't have to be too terribly controlled about it. The thinner that you've laid down previously will break the surface tension and cause the wash to flow into the cracks and into the panel crevices. Once you've done this, you'll want the wash to sit on the model for a good 5 or 10 minutes. At that point, you can then take a flat brush and your enamel thinner and go in and start cleaning up the model. What you want to look for is areas where tide marks have formed. That's where your wash has pooled in unsightly marks. You can erase those with a thinner, or you can push wash back into the crevices or into the darker areas on the model and generally clean up the spots where there's been too much shading applied over spots where the light will hit directly. And you do the same thing on the sides. You usually want to go in the motion that takes the wash into the crevices or from top to bottom. In this case, I'm also doing the top of the turret, so I'm trying to brush the wash back into the crevices alongside these panels, but not to be so excessive that I destroy the shading. Here's an example of what this technique creates. The hull on the left has been shaded with enamels. The one on the right hasn't been shaded yet. You'll notice that there's quite a difference in terms of depth, and the one on the left clearly establishes much more of a sense of mass. So after the enamels have been done, I get out my highlight color again, in this case German yellow, and I want to go back and reapply it onto the very edges of the model. This just kind of renews the highlights because they'll have been toned down by the previous wash. Following this, the shading process will be complete, and you can go on and complete the model as you normally would, including any weathering or other detail painting you'd like. Here's the finished result. As you can see, the enamel wash added a lot of definition and created a real sense of mass for this model. If we wanted to take more time, we could have used the pin wash technique, and that would have yielded more precise results. But in this case, this model isn't really a showpiece, and it will look just fine in a display or on the battlefield if you're a wargamer. That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. Miniature Landscape Hobbies is growing. Please stay tuned for new content twice weekly on Sundays and Thursdays. We are your source for regular model building, miniature painting, and diorama content. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure you do, and press the bell button to receive immediate notification so you don't have to miss out. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember to keep building life in miniature.